The funny thing about addiction is nobody ever plans for it to happen. You don't wake up one morning and go, you know what, I'm gonna become addicted to a game that's riddled with issues, full of microtransactions, and run by a company that doesn't care if I live or die. But somehow it still happens. Which is why today I thought it'd be fun to break down that process through the 7 levels of COD addiction that end up turning normal people like you and I into the kind of people that think having a high KD ratio is a replacement for personality. Starting with level 1. We all remember the feeling of our very first hit marker. Most of us never even meant for it to happen. And if you were like me, you were just hanging out at a friend's house and your boy happened to hit you with a question that ended up sealing your fate, which is, bro, do you want to play some Call of Duty? Next thing you know, you're holding a controller, getting absolutely violated in 1v1s, constantly asking things like, wait, which button do I press to run again? And your friends repeatedly destroy you in every game mode with scores that end up looking more lopsided than the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. Despite your friends laughing at you for going 2-47, despite calling in a care package only to have it land on your head and kill you, you're actually loving every second of it. It doesn't matter if you're a Call of Duty vet or a Call of Duty noob, we all remember our very first COD experience. Chaos, the confusion, and of course, the random kid in game chat who happens to be describing your mother in ways that would make a psychiatrist uncomfortable. Level 2. You can kind of think of level 2 as the honeymoon phase between you and Call of Duty. This is when your cravings for the game really get going. Playing at your friend's house just isn't enough anymore. You need your own copy, your own account, and of course, your very own chance to be called slurs by complete strangers online. If you're old like me, you probably had to physically drag your mom to Walmart and beg like you've never begged before. In fact, I remember that conversation I had with my mom like it was just yesterday. Mom, please, please, please let me get Call of Duty Black Ops. Everybody already has it already.
Why should I let you get this game? You're just gonna get your cheeks clapped.
Mom, it's 2010. Cheek clapping's not even a term yet.
Fine, you can get the stupid game, but don't come running to me when those cheeks are sore.
Maybe I don't remember it that well after all. Anyways, most of you kids today probably just click download, but the story that ties us all together remains the same. You ended up doing what you needed to do to get your own copy and your own account, and of course, you will get that chance to be called slurs online by children who have not hit puberty yet. And do not get me wrong, you still absolutely suck at the game. But now, at least you get to suck in the privacy of your own home. Your KD's so negative that it might as well be the origin story for a Marvel villain. And that's because you spend most of your time camping in corners and trembling in fear anytime you hear somebody slide canceling towards you. But something very important happens in this stage that manages to keep you hooked. And that's when you experience your very first taste of success. For you, it might have been that very first time that you ended up clutching up in a round of S&D. Or maybe you finally got far enough in zombies that you were able to pack a punch your gun. Or maybe you're like me and getting that first dub with the boys in Warzone tickled your pickle in ways that your pickle has never been tickled before. No matter how you slice it, that first tiny bit of success keeps you coming back for more and more. The first thing you think about when you get up in the morning is playing the game, and at this point, the game can do no wrong. You just love playing Call of Duty. It feels like the game loves you too. But unfortunately for you, that feeling won't last forever. Level 3. In this third phase, playing the game just isn't enough anymore. That new feeling that you had when you first started playing is finally worn off, and you're tired of being that guy that keeps getting put into TikTok clips. You've decided it's time to get serious and actually learn how to become a better player. Your YouTube recommendations are filled with titles like Best Meta Loadout Absolutely Broken, and you're constantly watching tutorials that have titles like How to Move Like a YY Slide Canceling Demon. If anyone were to search your browser history at this point, it would look like you're studying for your PhD in Call of Duty. You started watching all of your kill cams like they're game film. You're analyzing every movement and every slide and every jump shot like you're trying to study some sort of ancient language. And in this learning phase, slowly but surely, you are improving at the game. Seeing your KD and all the other stats associated with it go up isn't just satisfying, it's addicting, which only stands to deepen your newfound love for Call of Duty. Somewhere along this journey to improve, you also discovered this thing called aim assist, and now you blame it for everything. You've managed to convince yourself that everyone else around you has it, but you somehow don't. Just died to a console player, even though you yourself also play on console? Has to be aim assist. Just got quick scoped from the other side of the map? Obviously aim assist. Your girlfriend just left you and told you that you're a loser? Believe it or not, also aim assist. Your friends are really starting to get concerned about how much you talk about breaking cameras and skill gap, but it's not only them who's concerned. Your family's also growing increasingly concerned about your obsession with Call of Duty. Anytime your mom walks by your room, she just hears you listening to videos that always seem to be shouting, What's up, guys? I'm back with another banger gameplay. And she thinks you might have joined a cult. And to be entirely fair to her, she's not completely wrong on that front. Level 4. The casual player inside you isn't just dying, it's being murdered in cold blood. And that's because at this level of Call of Duty addiction, your focus is becoming the sweat that you once feared. In place of the casual that you once were, you're being reborn like a phoenix. Except instead of being beautiful and magical like the birth of a phoenix, you're actually just alone in a musty, dark room that's slowly being filled with more and more sweat particles as you transform into a filthy, disgusting sweat. Not only is your gameplay transforming, but your setup is evolving like a Pokemon. You've ditched that old regular controller that you used to have, and you now have a $200 controller with back paddles. You've also somehow managed to convince your parents that getting a brand new gaming chair will help you with your studies. And of course, we can't forget that you've now got enough LED strips in your room that it would make a Vegas casino jealous. All of the tutorials and videos that you ended up watching in level 3 have really started to pay off. You're actually getting pretty decent at the game, but let's face it, with the amount of hours you've put into this game at this point, it would be a little embarrassing if you weren't at least just above average. You've left all of your other friends in the dust because they're prioritizing things like good grades and a social life. Not only have you upgraded your gameplay and your setup, but you've also completely changed your vocabulary. You're running around using terms like absolute oney in everyday conversation, and your mom no longer thinks that you've joined a cult because she's just fully accepted that you might be on drugs. In this stage, you've also learned what might be the most important aspect of being a sweat, which is having an excuse for each and every death that you encounter. After all, we can't actually blame aim assist every single time. One death is because of lag, and then the next is because of desync. And of course, we can't forget that anytime you encounter anyone that has the slightest bit of awareness or gun skill, it's absolutely because they're hacking. Level 5. Welcome to hell, or more specifically what I like to call SBMM purgatory. You're stuck in the most awkward position possible because you're way too good now to play with the Christmas noobs, but you're not quite good enough to hang with the kids who haven't touched grass since Modern Warfare 2019. You're in this weird middle ground where every single lobby you encounter feels like you're competing in the CDL with none of the prize money. The best way I can describe it is that you've gotten to a point where you realize that every match is a coin flip, except both sides of that coin say pain. One game you're dropping a 30 bomb feeling like you're the next phase recruit, and then the next game you're getting jump shotted, drop shotted, and quick scoped by some TTV streamer who hasn't seen his family since Verdansk. Your confidence is constantly going up and down more than your KD. If you've managed to reach level 5 of COD addiction, the SBMM algorithm has you more figured out than your ex ever did. And just like your ex, it knows exactly how to hurt you. You start recognizing all of the patterns. After 2 good games in a row, you know exactly what's coming next. You're about to get thrown in the TTV Sweatlord's lobby where every single person has a better gaming chair than you. You've started keeping track of your games like you're doing some sort of scientific research. But no matter how closely you track your games and how many games you try to throw, SBMM just comes back harder and harder. And now you're faced with a choice that hits way harder than your dad's disappointment. Do you fully commit to the path of darkness and go past where even the sweats have gone and become the very thing that your parents feared, which is a no life, no girlfriend having Call of Duty demon who measures time in COD seasons rather than actual months? Or do you take the responsible path, focusing on your career, maintaining relationships, and maybe even touching grass every once in a while? You know you should take the responsible path, but mama didn't raise no bitch. You already spent way too much time learning about Peeker's advantage and spawn rotations to back out now. So, you make your choice. You're going all in, and your mental health will continue to be more broken than any meta ever has been. Level 6. You pushed so deep into SBMM purgatory to the point where you've realized that you're way too good at this game to go out and try anything else. And that's why you're going to mentally protect yourself. Before, in the past levels, you were maybe questioning if Call of Duty had the best intentions for you, but now that you're so far gone and you've put in all these hours, you can't do anything but defend the game. Your brain has started doing Olympic level gymnastics to justify everything about the game because that's easier than accepting that you dedicated all these hours to a game that hates you just as much as you hate it. You've convinced yourself that you actually like SBMM because it makes you better and it's a challenge. You've also convinced yourself that all of the broken meta weapons in the game actually add some variety and flavor to the game. And we absolutely can't forget that you've managed to gaslight yourself into thinking that the toxic Call of Duty community is actually good because kids today are just too soft. Your friends keep trying to save you and get you to play other games, but your brain has been just so completely rewired at this point that you reject anything that isn't COD. Apex Legends is just too slow, and what's up with all these abilities? Valorant doesn't even have slide canceling. And let's not forget that Fortnite is just way too cartoony because you like the realism that Call of Duty brings to the table. You're mainlining premium grade copium straight into your veins, defending every decision the developers make like they're paying you to do it. But really, you're paying them. Don't worry though, because in the final level, reality is about to hit you harder than SBMM after a win streak. Level 7. That moment of clarity I talked about earlier just hit you like an RPG on shipment. Like watching your past relationship red flags play back in slow motion, you suddenly see Call of Duty for what it really is. A toxic ex that you can never quit. Just like the person who kept breaking your heart in high school, COD is full of broken promises, constantly disappointing you, always taking your money and never giving you anything to show for it, and of course, making you question your life choices at 3 a.m. Your YouTube feed that used to be filled with COD tutorials is now filled with nothing but COD doom. You constantly watch videos titled Call of Duty is dying while you queue for your next match. Every streamer you know is talking about how terrible the game is while playing it for 12 hours straight, like you do. You become part of a community of Stockholm Syndrome sufferers who happen to hate play the game daily. You complain about each and everything that the devs do, and you know that every update that comes in will fix 2 things and break 137 others. In this stage, you're always threatening to leave the game, even though you and I both know damn well that you're not ever going to go to a new game. And just like that toxic ex that we talked about earlier, no matter how bad it gets, you just keep crawling on right back. Maybe it's Call of Duty addiction, or maybe you actually just hate yourself. Like clockwork, every night you end up loading into the game that you claim to hate, and one more game always ends up turning into a 6-hour session of you waging psychological warfare on yourself. And yet, even though you know for a fact Activision doesn't care about you or the player base at all, here you are, still playing, still loading up the game every night like an addict returning to their dealer. You've become far worse than your own nightmare. You're a Call of Duty addict who hates Call of Duty. Who would have ever thought that that very first hit marker you experienced would take you to where you are right now? Welcome to rock bottom, where the population is just you and everybody else who's still playing the game. But hey, at least you've still got that high KD to brag about.